Xavier. Okay.
Oh. Yeah. All right, welcome in. We've made it to Friday. It's been a great week so far, but I gotta pour one out for the parlay. We have taken two vicious parlay beats this week. One that I gotta be honest, guys. I was watching 5 other games. I counted it as a win in my head. I was like, oh, we got the St. Thomas over. Brian, What happened? What happened? How did that get there?
Well, look, for those who are not following at home and just simply want to come on here and say, oh, the parlay lost yesterday. Well, let me tell you what happened. St. Thomas, who was my contribution to the parlay, last night's parlay of the day, was sitting pretty at 71 points with just over 10 minutes to go. That, as you guys know, Rob and Adam, you guys have watched a lot of college basketball through the years, as have many of our fine viewers. If you got 71 points with 10 minutes left to go in a college basketball game, you're doing well at the offensive end. Team total was 80.5. So we needed 12 points over the last 10 minutes to get home, and they scored 9. Why did they score 9? Because, in all due respect, Trigg, Doug Gottlieb should not be coaching at this level. And if I may make it a little personal towards Mr. Guy, I just think the guy's a toolbox. Am I allowed to say that on the show? I mean, the issue was, as I tell jokes, I mean, if you want the non-joke version, St. Thomas was up so much they just could afford to take their foot off. They were up by 20 with 10 minutes left, and they just were like, game's over, gang. The Green Bay Phoenix, I do not believe are going to fare very well again this year. And that
I had to bring it up because if I didn't, someone I know the chat would be popping off. That is the second time this week. We've gone we've hit the first 2 and had sort of a bad beat in the final leg. But as it stands, hey, we come on, we talk about the wins. We got to talk about the losses as well. The parlay is still alive and well. 11.22 units on the year. And by the end of the show, you'll have another one. I said we got to keep, hit one a week and we're good. So today is our day, I think, to hit that one. Let's get right into it. Huge slate yet. Colin says they were at 77 with 4:45 left. You think on accident.
6 points.
Yes. You think
2-3.
Rob, did you see the game the other night where it hit someone's head and went in? I forget what game that was. Someone.
Yes, I did see that. Oh my God, what game was that? I've seen the clip twice now, and I can't remember what game it was. Yes. What's funny, just before we'll get to today's games, guys, in just a second. But what's funny is Rob also had a team total that was going on simultaneously. It was LSU and St. Thomas. They were both at basically the same point total with 10 minutes left. And Rob, I was kind of like, oh boy, I hope Rob's gets there because you needed to get more points. LSU's team total was 7 points higher than St. Thomas, and you cleared with no problem. And here I'm sitting here saying, damn you, Tommies, damn you.
Yeah, I was adding it up in my head, Brian. I'm like, okay, we need 17 in 9 minutes. That's only 2 a minute. We can do this. Let's go. And they did. They cleared pretty easily. So,
All right. It looks like the folks have filed in for the Friday show. A big Friday slate, probably one of the bigger Friday slates we'll have all year. As you guys know, conference Friday slates tend to be smaller. Not so much today, Rob. I'm coming right to you to kick this off because you're kind of our West Coast guy, and I think it's appropriate to make the feature out on the West Coast tonight between UCLA and Arizona. That, to me, is the feature game on Friday's slate. And was a low-scoring game last year. Don't think either team cracked 60. Do you think it might be a little higher scoring this year? That was my initial gut reaction when I sort of did my breakdown here.
Yeah, well, Tommy Lloyd made mention of it. He basically said that, they got their style last year. He wants to play slower in reference to Mick Cronin. I want to play faster. So he's going to try and make a point of it. UCLA, for what it's worth, guys, when you go to tempo numbers, it doesn't look fast. Their shots per possession, how quickly seconds per possession are a little bit quicker. What interests me most about this game, guys, is that Arizona puts 4 freshmen out there on the floor in their top 8. And immediately this early in the season, that might scare you, except that these 4 freshmen played against Florida, beat Florida on a neutral, and played well. Koa Pete was the leading scorer in that game for Arizona. So I don't worry too much about the freshman here. My biggest concern with UCLA heading into the season was, you get Donovan Dent from New Mexico, right? And he plays Richard Pitino's style, up and down the floor, a little bit of press. And then you come to Mick Cronin, and you're the lead guard in a molasses-type offense. How's Donovan Dent going to react to that? He's reacted pretty well. And UCLA's score totals have gotten up there a little bit this year so far. Lesser competition, granted. I did watch, I've mentioned the EWU game a few times, Eastern Washington, where Eastern Washington hung tough. But that's an 80-74 game, where UCLA didn't, to me, look like the pedestrian-style team that Mick Cronin might want them to be. That being said, guys, my leans here, and no longer, because I was leaning Arizona, because I figured if the freshmen can do what they did against Florida, then they can certainly do it here. And then the line went from 1.5 to 3.5, and it makes a huge difference, I think. But the money is on the Arizona side. When I read Mick Cronin's quotes, it looks like he's treating this game more as a test than a guy who's confident they can win. And the other side of this, like I say, Tommy Lloyd making mention of they want to go out there and dictate things tonight, just kind of gives me the idea that one coach feels like he's in better shape than the other. Both really good teams. I think the game probably does go to Arizona. I likely won't get involved in the total here just because Cronin's going to have his way for a little bit of this game. Time start has nothing to do with anything here. I think Arizona, because the freshmen have been through the war already, probably are unfazed here, and Arizona gets the win. I'm just a little, at this price tag, guys, I'm a little bit leery to lay the full 3.5. But the guys who got in early did the right thing, I think.
Yeah, I would concur with that. I don't want to lay points on the road, but Arizona's going to win this game throughout the season. I'm going to be referencing my own power ratings quite a bit, especially as the season goes on and on when I become more and more confident what we've seen. UCLA, guys, is currently ranked number 15 in the country by the pollsters. I do not think this is a top 25 team. They had a very interesting game their last time out against West Georgia. West Georgia, relatively still relatively new D1 team. I believe it was last year they made the jump, right, to the Atlantic Sun. Trigg, last year was the first D1 year. That game, so you just look at the final score, 83-62. Ho-hum win for the Bruins is what you're thinking. Well, it was a very odd start because West Georgia, not particularly known for their three-point proficiency, I believe started the game 5 for 5 and had a nice lead. And West Georgia shot 52% from three against UCLA. Was that just an outlier? Was there something in the air that evening that I don't know? Is that just much ado about nothing? But I'm going to tell you guys right now, and this will be a little bit of a preview. We probably won't have to wait till the end of the program to get to the game I'm going to talk about for my leg of the parlay of the day. My power rankings, that there's one team right now clearly that they say should not be in the top 25. It's UCLA. And then there's one team that they say should clearly be in, and that'll be my leg of the parlay of the day. That's just a little tease. We'll get to that later. But UCLA is not winning this game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I really don't have a huge opinion on the side. I do want to point out, I don't believe Donovan Dent played against West Georgia. He should play here.
He did sit out, yes.
I see the move toward Arizona. I think that's just people, being enamored with this Arizona team. I don't think that has anything to do without Dent playing. I feel like this is going to, from a market perspective, I think this will go kind of like Alabama Purdue did yesterday, where you'll see it hit 3.5, come back, hit 3.5 again, come back. So the interesting thing to me in this one is I think Donovan Dent makes UCLA play faster, but they have very much priced that in on this total. I mean, the total in the 150s, this was a game that didn't crack one. I mean, this was like a 57-54 final last year. Last year, Cronin's defense worked. I thought, that was pretty much, his sort of, the way that Cronin wants a game to be played worked out last year in that Arizona game. I don't know if it works here, and I definitely think Dent makes him faster. So I want my take here would be the over, but that's a awfully high number. And I think that it's because Arizona looks so good offensively against Florida. And I think that the thought process is that they're going to do a lot of damage here. So will be a fun watch. Tough game to bet. Go ahead, Brian.
One last thing. Ken Palm's got UCLA number 32. So if you are saying, where's this guy pulling his power ratings from? Ken also agrees UCLA should not be a top 25 team.
All right, I'm going to go to Garth. Garth, thank you again for the question. Thank you for the donation. Much appreciated. And we have done well on Garth's games. So, I mean, we got to keep it going. He asks, and then I'll move the comment because I realize these comments take up like the whole screen. So I'll start pulling.
So does my head.
But he says 5-1 on the season here on plays I've mentioned. Think I could get to 6-1 by backing High Point tonight. I like the other side here. I don't know if I'm going to get to the window with UAB. I do think it's maybe come down a little bit. I think this might have hit 3.5 at some point, or maybe it's 3.5 now. Maybe one of you guys can let me know that. But so the other night I texted you a tweet from Jelly Walker, who is a UAB great, and he was kind of clowning his school for losing that game to Alabama State. Now, I've heard from people that know about UAB basketball that this team has some issues right now from a talent standpoint, way the team is coming. I think actually, let me retract that. I don't think it's a talent standpoint. I think it's just the way this team has come together to this point. So obviously, you're replacing a lot from last year. Jax Lendenberg is now at Michigan. And I just don't think they're as far along as they expected to be to this point in the season. Go out. I didn't put much stock, Rob, into them getting just dragged by NC State because I think Will Wade's going to drag quite a few folks this year. I got to be honest. And I like High Point. Generally, I like High Point, but I do think that High Point might be the team this year that is a little bit overvalued from last year. Of course, Alan Huss goes to Creighton. He will be the next coach at Creighton when Doug McDermott decides to step down. So he's the coach in waiting there. The new coach, Flynn Clayman, I believe is his name. Reports are good, but I mean, I don't think he's really won a big game yet, right? I think High Point has kind of just blasted a couple of inferior opponents. Although they did knock Furman around pretty good in that opener, which I think has more to do with Furman being maybe not as good as they've been in years past than it does High Point just being this freight train. I'll kick it to you guys. I want to like UAB here. I think the spot coming off of just such a atrocious loss makes sense that UAB would bounce back, but I don't think I have enough faith in the Blazers to put my money on it. So that's my problem with this one. I'll leave the floor open to you two.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just go quick here, Adam, because obviously my first reaction here is, UAB, High Point. Let's take a look at the total. Never mind the side. In the back of my mind was the text that you sent us to tell us, or maybe even said it on air. I forget how you told us, but that UAB, you knew somebody close to the program and they may be a scattered mess this season, and a Jelly Walker text, whatever. So it wasn't necessarily for side here. It was to look at total because I know UAB is going to run. They always do under Andy Kennedy. High Point, for the most part, is a fairly quick team. And this year they're shooting the basketball like crazy so far. Of course, the schedule is the schedule. But if you got a team like UAB, I went into the defensive numbers real quick here with UAB, and they're just not as bad as maybe I thought. So I laid off this total because it's priced so high. My initial reaction was to play it over, and it still may get to the over, but I couldn't get there with it just because perhaps, you're talking about a game where you have to get sky-high points out of both sides. Tempo will be there. High Point shooting has been there. I just feel like UAB off of a game where they allowed 50% from 2 and I think 30-something% from 3. Again, we're digging into coaches who say we need to play better defense. I just, in the back of my head, it's like Andy Kennedy probably wants these guys to D up a little better tonight than they did the other night. So I'm off of the total for those reasons.
Just, pardon me, real quick. If you like the UAB side, I would actually bet it right now because it's DraftKings, assuming you're not limited to being able to only bet 50 cents there. You can still get them at 3.5 right now, where everybody else is moving in the other direction. I'm actually seeing this. Did I see one? I don't want to say something wrong. It's 2.5 pretty much everywhere else. So on the other side, it's still on the other side of 3. If you like the UAB side, I see Bayou, our good friend Bayou Bets, Keith Landry, in the chat. He actually messaged me a few minutes before we went live that he liked UAB. I'm okay to say that, Keith.
Yeah, and the it's Corby that went to UAB. He'll probably talk about it on the show that goes in an hour from now, which I'm sure if you watch these shows, you probably know about the other show. And if he's on that show today, I am certain he will bring it up because that's who I got that from.
The stench of Trent Dilfer is still going around in Birmingham too, even though he wasn't involved. That's going to take a while for them to waft that out. That's also needs to be noted, I think, in the handicap.
Yeah, I saw that after Jelly Walker tweeted and people were like, come on, you're like, hey, like that's a little harsh. He posted his stat line from when they played Alabama State. And I think he dropped like 40. He was like, this is what it should look like. So
that was a real flex, I thought.
Listen, if you, I don't know if that's actionable, but like if one of the best players in the history of the program decides to go to Twitter and call you out for the effort, think the effort might be better the next time out. And, it's a home game. I believe these two teams played last year. I think that game was at High Point. I think High Point won in a competitive game. I'll have to go back and check. I'm just going off memory, but it feels like the spot for UAB. It probably won't get my money, but it feels like the spot. Brian Power, I'm going to bring you back in here. Mark Martin actually asked Veno, but I know you guys both have an opinion on this one. So,
yes.
The game everyone wants to talk about today. Seriously, though, I really think that the way that the betting market is just going on this game, I really do think this is a game a lot of people want to talk about.
Absolutely. Like ESPN, if you're in like the ESPN world, okay, who wants to talk about IU Indy? If you're a serious bettor of college basketball, I don't know how IU Indy totals aren't on near the top of your talking points at the start of this season. Look, we talked about that first game. I remember when we were live on our very first show, IU Indy played Ohio State, and I said, guys, what in heaven's name is going on with this total? And it still flew. It was close to what was it? A 10. It was a double-digit move. And it still went over by 20 points and was higher scoring than most NBA games that night. I know Rob can vouch for that. You look at IU Indy, they are playing at a pace, and it is by design. Their goal seems to be this year, we want to get number 1 in adjusted tempo at Ken Pop. That seems to be the goal here. And they're and I looked at the odds screen, and I was like, okay, has this overtaken money? They're betting this thing's up to 188 already, and they're playing. And so Trigg, I don't want to put words in Rob's mouth, but I know you for certain do this as well. You and I are both people that we take a look at the market and we try to, okay, this has gotten out of hand, and we need to punch back now. Like, this is just absurd. Everyone in no one's going to bet the under on this game. Let me be the fool who tries to do it. I don't think I want to do it in this game, and I'm going to tell you why. Eastern Michigan, okay, does not really have a point guard. And what does IU Indy do? What is the key to this chain? They're just doing a full court press. Note the banner above us, by the way. Rob, correct me if I'm wrong here, okay, with all of your years of acumen of watching college basketball. If you don't have a true point guard and you're facing a team that's going to press you for 90-plus feet, that's not a great matchup here. And I think Eastern Michigan could give up a lot, and I do mean a lot of points here on Friday evening.
Guys, we talked yesterday. I thought we were pretty close to covering all the coaching changes, those that were polar opposites. But this one we haven't talked about yet, even though we've recognized the scoring in IU Indy games. Division II, Ben Howlett comes here. And Brian, when you said a lot of years, I'm going to date everybody here. I apologize if you're born after the year 1990. I apologize.
Oh.
But
Loyola Marymount?
You go back and look, and I swear to God, this coach must have watched the Guru of Go, the 30 for 30 special on Paul Westhead. I remember that team like it was yesterday. Great team. The Hank Gathers saga was sad as could be. Bo Kimball. I actually met Bo Kimball in person. He gave an award to my son at a high school function. Good guy. And I used to, I'm getting into the weeds here, and I don't want to get into the weeds, but as a 29-year-old in 90 playing rec basketball, I thought Jeff Fryer had the coolest job in basketball, run down, stand behind the three-point arc, and just wait till somebody throws you the basketball. But the point being is their style is so reminiscent of that team where Paul Westhead threw caution to the wind. I don't care if you score on me. I really don't care. Score fast. I'm going to take the ball, and I'm going to score even faster. And by the time 40 minutes are up, you're going to feel like you've been running in beach sand for 40 minutes by the end. And we're just going to wear you down. And that's what IU Indy is kind of doing to teams right here, except that they don't have the talent level that Loyola Marymount team had as far as if they could shoot the basketball, guys, they do what Marymount did. Score 130, score 140. You see these movements in the price because the odds makers aren't close. These games are going to get so many possessions that by accident, you have to find your way to 180. And if you do anything at all, you'll find your way to 190. I think the over is the proper play here. And as you mentioned, Brian, when you add into the equation the fact that you're going to full court press a team that has trouble ball handling right now, it's not drastic with EMU. I'll correlate it real quick to a football team. So often, Brian, we handicap college football. We'll say stuff like, well, in 6 days, you can't simulate the Air Force offense, right? You can't simulate the military. Who are you going to put on your scout squad that knows how to play? You could take 5 guys and say, you're going to press us and we're going to, but EMU's had a couple of days to get ready for this. And the old Mike Tyson line, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. EMU is going to figure it out real quick. I think they'll score because Indy will let them score. I think Indy will score because they'll steal the ball and they'll score. For me, my debate was whether I should use this as the leg of the parlay, guys. We'll wait a few minutes and I'll consider if I put this.
Yeah, I considered it too. Before I send it back to you, Trigg, I just, if there's, we do have to take into account that there may be some people watching that haven't been following IU Indy and are like, what, can you guys give us just some raw numbers to illustrate what you're saying? IU Indy's first 4 games, here are the final scores: 118-102 loss to Ohio State, 94-90 loss to Long Island, 112-80 loss to Butler, and then they beat a non-board team 121-77 last time out. So there has been a minimum of 184 points scored in all 4 games. And then 3 of them have seen at least 192. 2 have seen 198. So there you go.
So before we move on from this game, I have two things I want to point out from IU Indy's last game. The last game, their total opened 160. It went off 184.5, which means there was a 24.5 point move. It landed 184, which means pretty much as long as you bet it before, right before tip off, you cashed with the over. That being said, there was a lot of extension at the end of that game. It was a close game. So you had you had quite a few foul shots. It took some back and forth shot making in the final minute or two to get it over the last number. I think you were probably sitting pretty with 160 easily there, but to get it over all numbers or most numbers, it took some extension. The other thing I'll point out is there's a 5-point move on the side here toward the dog, which is that on the road. So that's very interesting. I don't really know what to make of that because if I knew that Eastern Michigan was going to have their complement of players or most of their players, I would want to punch back at that. But boy, that's what do you the 5.5 point move on the dog as well. I have no opinions. I really just wanted to point that out, that it's if you like the over and you think there's still meat on the bone there, you should bet it now because this actually might go up over 190 based on the fact that the last game moved 24.5 points and most of those overs hit. So intriguing discussion right there for sure. Brian, I'm going to come back to you because I think this is going to be your leg of the parlay.
Yes.
Daryl Turner says, anyone like the over between Georgia and Georgia Tech? So let's just do the full Georgia Tech discussion right now. And Brian, tell me where you're looking in this game.
Yeah, so I mentioned at the outset when we were talking Arizona and UCLA that UCLA was a team that I really, my numbers say, don't deserve necessarily to be in the top 25. A team that is not currently in the top 25 that my numbers really like is Georgia. And Georgia is going to be my leg of the parlay, guys. Let's just all settle in on a number because they were taking money right before we went live, and I have not checked since. Georgia, how about we go 15 for the show, Trigg? Does that sound all right? There are 15.5s already popping. Open 14. Well, I'll let you be the official judge and jury for how we're going to grade that.
We can go 15. We'll double check it at the end, but I think 15 will be fine. We'll go if we have to go 15 minus 120, we can do that.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be a juiced 15. Now let me get back here because why do my numbers like Georgia? Well, here's where sometimes you have to exercise a little bit of caution with early season. Georgia has produced 3 massive routes to open the season. And, if you do power ratings are going to love that. Georgia, here's how they've opened the season. 45-point win over Bellarmine, 65-point win over Maryland Eastern Shore, 39-point win over Morehead State. Now, obviously, they were big favorites in all of those games. And, you expect them to win, but still, that kind of average margin of victory is really impressive. Then if you're a common opponent person, Georgia Tech, they played Maryland Eastern Shore as well. And guess what? Georgia Tech only won by, hold on, let me pull up the score here. They only won by 4 against the same team that Georgia won by 65. Now, A plus B does not necessarily equal C, but I look at this. I think my power ratings love this Georgia team so far. And again, you blow out 3 bad. People say, oh, those teams stink. But if you blow teams out, that's a good thing. Call me old-fashioned. That's I come on here in a lot of different sports, and I always criticize pros, college, whatever, and say, you know what? Yeah, this team's record's good, but they're always winning close, and that's just not sustainable. Close game, usually a close game record will regress to 500. If you're blowing out teams, whether or not you're supposed to blow them out or not, to me, that's impressive. Georgia, you look at the stat profile, there's a lot to like here, and I think Georgia makes it 4 for 4 in terms of blowout victories. This is going to be my parlay leg here, as I think they destroy Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I have nothing to, if Georgia, like the way they get up and down, if Georgia Tech can't keep them away from the rim, it could get ugly. So I hope for your sake it does. I'll kick this one back to you guys because a bunch of people have asked about it. I have far less of an opinion here than I did yesterday, but we do have the second of 3 11 a.m. tip-offs in the, I think it's the Showdown at St. Pete, they're calling it, Brian. They want to play a standalone 11 a.m. game. Today, it's Central Michigan against Coppin State. If we were just talking all neutral court, all things equal, I think Central Michigan destroys this team. I think Coppin State is bad, but you have to weigh in the fact that you're obviously laying a decent sized number. I don't know what it is right this second. And Central Michigan had a little bit of a dogfight yesterday with South Alabama. So, do they come back and smash this team? My gut says yes. I'm not going to bet that, but I couldn't take Coppin State here. I just think they're bad. That's all I've got on that game. If you guys want to throw something out there for the 11 a.m., if not, we'll move on.
Just really quick, Adam, and it'll take 2 seconds here. I'm in agreement with you. What I've found over the years now is that we put a little bit too much stock nowadays. It used to be a really good theory years ago when these teams double up back-to-backs 3 in 3 days, like when you go through conference tournaments and stuff and you see people just playing the situation. And nowadays, these teams win those games. If you're better than the other team, you win 3 games in 3 days. You win 4 games in 4 nights. It happens more often than you think. Coppin's been through the rigors with a pretty decent schedule so far, but they haven't come close in any of them. So to me, it would be Central Michigan. You always have to weigh the factor of, game under your belt, ready to go at these rims on this neutral floor. Maybe it takes Coppin time to get adjusted. So I'd probably be on Central Michigan, but like you, I can pass this one.
I'll touch on one that a couple folks are asking about. I lost the comment, but that's okay. I know what it is. It's Hofstra and Bucknell. So some people asking my opinion, I can kind of jump in and give you an opinion here. So I've been looking for, a good spot to play Hofstra ever since the opener. And part of the reason for that is they went to Iona in a game that I didn't bet, but I liked them quite a bit in that game and got absolutely blitzed right out of the gate. I think it was like 23-4. Iona, and we could even talk about that game as well at some point, but they just made everything. I mean, it was one of those ones. It was kind of like a win Brian Power had last night on Wichita State, where like every shot Kenyon Giles put up went in. That was the Iona team against Hofstra to the point where it was like I watched the game back. I didn't watch it live, so I watched the game back, and it was like they didn't play that badly, in my opinion. They just got totally blitzed out of the gate to the point where I think they were down so much in that game that climbing that hill on the road, coming back from that was just too much. And so I think right off the bat, the fact that they lost that game undervalues them a little bit. Now, I just want to see what they've done in their other games because, so they had the loss to UCF. Brian, I think you had a winner in that one on opening night. UCF, I think you played them over with Hofstra, and it went way, way over.
Yes. Yes.
I was impressed with Hofstra in that game. And so the other was a non-board, non-D1 game. So their two games was a very impressive game, in my opinion, against a Big 12 team. And then a game against Iona where I just feel like they were unlucky to go 20 in the hole. And so I actually think this might be my parlay leg. I'm not going to lock it in just yet. Actually, you know what? No, I am going to lock it in because here's why. I was on the fence with playing this one. I see a little bit of a line move toward Hofstra, which I did kind of expect to happen. I played against Bucknell earlier in the week with Princeton, and part of my reasoning there was I think Bucknell is nothing like they were last year. It's actually very similar to my reasoning for Cornell Lafayette, which turned out to be a blowout winner last night. You take Noah Williamson off this Bucknell team, big, 7. I think he's at Bama now. I like this just to want to put into context how good Noah Williamson was for Bucknell last year. I'm pretty sure he's at Alabama, somewhere in that rotation, or like coming off the bench. So you take him off this team. He was the best player. He was the guy that really set the tone at both ends of the floor, elite rim protector. And, I just don't think that they've done enough to replace him. But yet they're still getting rated like last year's Bucknell team. So I'm going to use this as my parlay leg. Can you give me a Hofstra money line right now? Let me know what that is.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Let me scroll up money line, and then I'll scroll back down. Hofstra.
Probably like minus 130.
Minus 140. Minus 140. Circa's minus 160.
So
we are throwing it in a 3-leg parlay though. So I mean, even if it minus 160, who cares?
So that's ultimately like I honestly this was one of the ones. So I ended up with I've already got 2 plays locked in. I have like 10 on a list of potentials today. This was one of the ones that I had circled as a potential play. I now kind of wish I just bet this last night, but like I sometimes, Brian, like I look at like a game like this and I say, well, I got my money against Bucknell earlier in the week against Princeton, was a little hesitant to come back with them. But now that we talk it out, I think that's the right side. So I'm going to make that my leg of the parlay. So we'll go Hofstra money line. I just think they're better, and Bucknell's not going to have. I don't think the Stoka Pavilion. That's in Philly or PA somewhere. I think it's closer to Pittsburgh. Rob, have you ever been to Bucknell University in Lewisburg, PA?
No, I have not, but you're absolutely right. It's from my location here. It's a distance. It's on the way to Pittsburgh. So yeah, it's Lewisburg. I would guess car ride for me 3 hours. So yeah, it's some place I haven't been yet.
People don't realize what a big state Pennsylvania is to drive.
Oh
through.
yeah.
I-80, man. I hope you.
Well, like, how about when you're in Erie?
Even Trigg will run out of things to talk about on I-80 in Pennsylvania, I think.
Yeah. You're in Erie. You're basically almost into Cleveland. Like you're not that far from Cleveland when you're in Erie, PA, up in the smokestack up there, I believe they call it. But we digress. I'm going to go Hofstra money line in the parlay. I think you're just going to see a superior team. And I don't think Bucknell is going to have an answer for what Hofstra is going to do. I think Hofstra might be overall. I'll leave one more thing. I think Hofstra is an undervalued team in that conference this year. I feel like things just didn't work out for them last year, and I think they have a pretty good team. So that might be a play on team going forward. And Slick Vic is saying Bucknell is trash. I mean, I'm not going to call them trash, but you're not wrong. They're not winning that league like they did last year. That is for sure. All right, let's go. We have a whole bunch of questions. I'm gonna just scroll one at random because there is a lot of people asking about a lot of games. And okay, I'll go to Rob here. I want to get Rob back in the conversation. I know he's going to have an opinion here. The folks want to know what you think about Xavier, Iowa, a very interesting matchup between two new coaches, one of which is having a worse time than the other at their new spot. So Xavier, Iowa, over to you, Rob.
Yeah, Xavier, Iowa, real quick here. What we've seen out of Iowa, guys, Darren, the head coaching change here, we thought with Ben Howland was going to make them a lower scoring team. And right out of the chute, we figured out, well, wait a minute, is Fran McCaffrey still coaching the offense for Iowa? Because they look pretty darn good. Xavier on the other side with Richard Pitino, two different halves the other night. Remember, I had them at team total in that game the other night, 20 points in the first half, but 48 in the second half. That second half, guys, put up 96 points the other night. But Xavier was never in it. That second half was more attributed. Their scoring was more attributed to, I don't want to call it garbage time, but, more like desperation mode. Game gets a little quicker. You're trying to get back in the game, et cetera, et cetera. I don't trust him here against Iowa at all. That's an extremely difficult arena to go into against a team that's proven to be really solid already. And you're walking in there in your evaluation process with the Xavier team. So if they got behind at home by, I think it was 18 points first half the other night, they could get blitzed right off the bat by Iowa here. So in some regards, I don't think this line is high enough at 15.5. But I think Iowa, guys, they may still be in bookmakers' eyes under the old perception of, under the Ben Howland perception that they're going to be a slower paced team. But like I said, I don't think it's true. And I don't think covering 15.5 with him as head coach against this particular team is that hard to do. I would look Iowa. Didn't bet the game, guys. But from what I saw of Xavier the other night, and Adam, I think you hit on it the day we made this play, that they're in a bad way personnel-wise. It was kind of disguised the first couple of games out of the chute, but it was really exposed in that game the other night. So I would lean Iowa for anybody looking to play that game. Total-wise, and you know what? You might want to play the Xavier team total under. How about that? Because Iowa's a good defensive team nowadays, and I think with Xavier struggles offensively, you could probably get home with that.
Yeah, real quick, Trigg, I remember you had messaged Rob and I during one of the games about Richard Pitino, his comments on his team. And, one thing, and this kind of plays into what Rob just said about maybe a Xavier team total under. This team right now, 348th in the country in 2-point percentage. We always talk about the variance that is 3-point shooting game to game in college basketball. But if you're not making them inside the arc, if you're 348th in the country in 2-point percentage, that means it's tough sledding at the offensive end, right? I mean, you're not getting the easy ones, particularly inside. I think the Xavier team, I think the market, again, to piggyback off what Rob said, may be a little slow to react to what is honestly not going to be a very good team in year one under Pitino. And I think Iowa can probably name the score here. Is it going to make my card? No, but it would be lay it or pass for me.
Yeah, rebuilding year for Xavier. I don't think anyone is going to give Pitino a hard time, really. Like, I think it's just a kind of a year zero for him there.
Mm-hmm.
And, given his track record, he's had, I think the Xavier faithful have to look at, he had really bad years to start at early on in his tenure at Minnesota. I think New Mexico might have finished 10th in the Mountain West in his first year there, and they turned out okay. So Xavier might be a team where maybe you can maybe you can back them in like February as like a dog, like in conference, like they start to figure it out as the year goes. But I don't want a part of them. And I think in non-conference play against teams that are just clearly further along than they are right now, which is I think the case with Iowa. Brian Power, I'm going to come back to you because I don't think the folks know, because of course you're a Mr. Cleveland, Mr. Ohio, that really you're a Michigan fan, not an Ohio State fan.
That is
if you had to pick a side of the rivalry. And Michigan basketball looks like they're in a great spot right now.
Yeah.
They look awesome. And so we had someone ask about the Michigan TCU game. Of course, we love all the comments, but I'm losing them in the shuffle. So I forget who asked about it, but we'll go there because I think that this is a matchup that's worth discussing tonight. Big move toward Michigan. I kind of agree. How are you seeing Michigan TCU?
Yeah, I think Michigan's one of the best teams in the country now. What you need to ask yourself here is, what do they have in the tank coming off, obviously, a wild and hard-fought victory over Wake Forest. That game, I mean, that was a great game the other night between Michigan and Wake. Michigan, they kind of looked in trouble. They were down 7 late in regulation. They rally and do win it in overtime. So they don't go to Texas very often. So I agree that, I kind of agree with you. Here's again, 3-point variance. All right. Michigan, why did they find themselves in that 7-point hole late against Wake Forest? They couldn't hit a 3 in the second half. I watched it. I mean, I was like, when was the last time they hit a 3? Well, I just brought the box score back open as I was stammering there. Michigan was 4 for 25 in that game from 3-point range. I always believe, this is just kind of my general handicapping mentality, if you can win a game when going 4 for 25 from 3, that's actually a good thing, because a team like Michigan, to me, too talented to be that cold back-to-back nights from 3. I know, again, it's on the road, so I don't think they're necessarily going, to shoot the lights out here, Dusty May's team. But you look at the TCU side, kind of a work in progress. They lose to New Orleans in the season opener. That's not good. So I think Michigan is probably how I would play this.
Rob, I'm seeing that this is getting knocked back down. So someone must have wanted to oppose this, because it looks like TCU has taken some money back down to 7.5, even 8 some places. I got to say this about TCU in general. This is not a great shooting TCU team. We all know that they had a horrific result to start their year, losing to the University of New Orleans. And I found it was Daryl that asked the question. So thank you, Daryl. We appreciate that. He specifically wanted Rob's opinion. So we better get Rob in on this. He says, Rob, what is your opinion of Michigan TCU? The last thing I'll say is, I don't think TCU shoots it particularly well. And Rob, I don't think you're getting much at the rim against Michigan. So what's TCU is going to have to defend their tails off to cover this number, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's an interesting conflict here, guys, because Jamie Dixon, since he's gotten to TCU, it's kind of I'm trying to describe his totals results here. It's very strange with him. He's a defensive-minded coach. Let's start there, right? But TCU has kind of catered to overs during his tenure, especially the last 3 years. And when I look at these numbers, analytical numbers so far this season, you see that they go fast on offense and they clamp down on the defensive side. Now, a lot of times when you see average possession length being long on defense, it's because teams are in zone and it's harder to find shots against zone immediately. But Dixon's kind of a man guy. And Michigan gets a shot off so quickly here. There's where the rub lies, right? Michigan wants to shoot quick. TCU banks on keeping you from taking a shot for a while. I think Michigan probably wins that battle in this game. But the total to me is too high, guys. I just don't see this game getting up into the area where it is right now. I'd probably think lower 150s rather than higher 150s. And to Brian's point, because Adam, you said there's a little bit of punchback to the TCU side here. I think just situationally, the point that Brian brought up about the toughness of the Wake Forest game back and forth, and now you got to go play another team that, they are at home, they are pretty decent, and they are sitting and waiting for you. So I could see a little bit of take back there at that price. But if this question was specifically toward total, Daryl, I would look under in that game. I just don't think it'll get up into that area.
Yeah, I'm with you, Rob. I see a scenario where TCU is having a hard time getting any sort of good look in this game. That Michigan defense is very good, and TCU I don't think is a great shooting team. All right, I want to go to Tessie Betts here. Or do you have one more thing to add there, Brian? Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say our good friend Jay Buff is getting very salty that we're not calling on him, that the teacher's not calling on him.
I saw him. So I saw him say something about an Iowa total. I know he's been like ahead of the curve on Iowa overs. So shout out.
He'll let us know about it. Good call, Buff. We love you, Buff.
We talked
Happy
about
belated
that.
Veterans Day.
Here's what we're going to do. I want to give this game the full rub. I think this is a really interesting matchup. So Tessie Betts, and then we'll go to Rob versus Parlay Language. Let's start. Tessie Betts says, sorry if I missed it. You did not. We have not talked about this game yet. Can we touch on PC Colorado, 9 p.m. tip out west? So yeah, that's Providence College, and they are headed out to Boulder to take on the Colorado Buffaloes. So my list, Colorado's on it, but my issue with Colorado when they play at home is like my 91-year-old grandmother at this point knows that Colorado has a little bit of an edge in the altitude, and I feel like it gets overpriced into the number a lot of times. And so when I saw Colorado at a pick here, I said, man, the books are just too smart, they're too good, and they really did bake the altitude difference into the number. I was hoping to get Colorado as a couple point dog. Maybe I will as the day goes on. But Brian, just in general, I mean, I'll let you two touch on that game and we can talk matchups. But what do you feel like the books beat you to the punch on that stuff a lot now, like more so than they used to?
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of thing that everyone knows about. I mean, we talk about it all the time. Once there, even like stuff that the general public, quote unquote, doesn't know about. Remember, we joked, what was it, last week? Or maybe you and I were just joking sometime over the weekend. Those 2 years ago in the Mountain West, whenever you had an unranked home team against and the books were like, you know what? We know that a bunch of sharp guys are going to come and hit this number. So we're just going to make the number 2 points higher than we normally would. And it still didn't matter. So, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, numbers do matter. And yes, I would concur with you, Trigg, that is priced into this matchup. But I do think, I mean, stay true to your handicap, guys. But yeah, I mean, yes, obviously it's a part of it.
And I'll send this over to Rob to close it out, and then he can go right into his parlay leg if he wants. I have two things I want to say about Providence and why I want to fade them at some point, and then I'll let Rob bring it home. The first thing is I have a buddy that went to Providence. He's very, very tuned into the basketball program, and what he told me is that Kim English loves his freshmen, and they are not getting along with the incoming upperclassmen portal.
Oh, that's right.
So do what you will with that. Like, think about this though. Kim recruits his guys. He goes and grabs a hired gun from another mid-major, right? Like they're all getting on campus at the same time. So it's not like, your usual hierarchy of, hey, I've been here for a couple of years. It's like you're all new. And I think I believe it was specifically Edwards that he referenced, who is one of, I believe, Providence's better players, that it's just, I don't know. These are things that I think don't get talked about enough in this day and age, because think about it. This is what these coaches have to deal with every year. New guys. How are these guys going to mesh? Are they going to be friends? Are they going to have each other's backs? Or are they going to be actively trying to sabotage each other on the court? You don't know. The second thing is I was on Penn earlier this week. I think Rob may have hit a team total in that same game. I lost with Penn, and I feel like I was unlucky to lose that bet. Penn just could not hit a shot like the last 7 minutes of the game, and Providence just poured it on to ruin my Penn plus 19. It was my only loss on a 3-1 day. I think it was Tuesday. So both reasons I like Colorado here. I think if this got to Colorado plus 2, I might take them. But at the current number, I'll have to sleep on it a little bit more. Rob, any thoughts here? And then you can go right into the game that you want to talk about.
Yeah, I was about to raise my hand to speak first here because I've got so many plays today, and I was just going to say, let me go first because I want to use it as a parlay leg. I'll go last here. I have so many inner conflicts with these games, guys. I'm going to say this. I looked at the under, and I like the under here, and I'll bet the under 163.5 in this game. There's a couple of reasons. I got two coaches, Kim English and Tad Boyle, both talking about defense. I'm going to give you a quote from Tad Boyle. After the last game, 102-97, they beat EWU. It was an overtime game. We have to have more pride, and our guys have to feel the way about it that I feel about it and the way our coaching staff feels about it. We have some really good coaches on this staff, some really good offensive coaches. Now, defensive coaches, we have to take blame on this too. And to me, that signifies a little bit of defensive effort here tonight against Providence. When I go through Providence's schedule, guys, Virginia Tech's a good team, but they played a winless team and piled it on, and they played Fran McCaffrey's Penn team the other night where I had the team total, and they piled it on. I don't know that going into the altitude against Colorado with a head coach that's, zoning in on defense tonight is the place where they're going to get to 85 points. This total is 163.5, by the way. So you're asking each side to get to 82. Kim English, real fast. Good bounce back for our guys on a short turnaround. We learned a lot from our film, and we've improved our transition defense. Both of these teams are going to have to get back tonight because both teams want to go quick. But to the point of Adam talking about younger players on Providence, Colorado has younger players too. And I just don't know that all these shots are going to fall here tonight. Now, I might get into trouble playing under if we get into a foul fest. That's always got to be considered. Last thing I'll say about this game is anybody who hasn't seen this 7'1" Bangot Dak for Providence who can put the ball between his legs and spin move and get to the rim and then shoot threes, kind of amazing for his size. Decision here is parlay leg or not. I'm going to say no, but I'm going to leave you guys with a firm play on under 163.5. I like it. It'll make my card.
Yeah, I think that's so. I believe, Rob, off the record, I'm going to put it on the record. You basically told me playing overs against Fran McCaffrey is like legalized stealing, pretty much. It's just that easy. And it really was. I mean, they just poured it on. A lot of those Providence points came in like the last 8 minutes of the game where they were just like, let's just pour it on, right? Let's get the folks at the it's the Dunk, in my opinion. It's not Dunkin' Donuts Center anymore, but let's get the folks 100 here, and they just poured it on. Even if they wanted to, you can't do that against Colorado. Like this is a massive step up from what they faced in Penn. So I'm with you. I like that. I think you're on the right side there. And you said 163.5 for the total on that.
Yeah, 163.5. Yep. It's actually it went way up to start, Adam, and came way back down. So yeah, 163.5.
Bill, Brian, is this so? I want to go to Bill here. He said, "Why don't you three do a promo with all three of your CBB?" I think we have one. The question is it live or not yet?
It is not live yet. No, I just double checked. I'm also. It's funny. Rob is talking about. I'm gonna peel back the curtain a little bit here. I've been monitoring a couple totals that I'm playing today. Speaking of the client card, that I've been waiting to see when the number peaks and push back, and I've been. If you're already a subscriber, you're seeing me, and I'm about to enter a second one here. But no, as for right now, we'll see, guys. Stay tuned. I'll be honest with you. I don't know. I know you've been going high volume, Trigg. Rob, your volume's been higher than me in the early going as well in college. But right now, you can get all basketball from any of the three of us for just $49 for 3 days. So, I mean, if you wanted all three of us, you can kind of pick and choose. I'll be honest with you. My volume is going to be low in the early part of the season with college hoops for the client releases, but I'm going to have two plays tonight, punching back at two totals. Like I said, we will check though that such a promo is in the works, Bill. Yes. But for right now, we have discussed that with management. Unfortunately, we don't know how to publish things live onto the website. That is not in our job description. We just talk and write for a living and hopefully pick some winners along the way for you guys. That's kind of the goal. But right now, that full court, the appropriately named full court press pass is still available. 3 days for $49, all basketball, your favorite handicapper, any of our pages right now.
I'll say this, Bill, if you were to email into customer support, they'll probably just do it for you. They are we have the best
Great customer service
business.
people.
They will just do it for you most likely. And I think we'll probably have something like that for the weekend where you just get all the plays for the three of us up by this afternoon. I think it was like pretty much a go, and they've just got to get it on to the website. So stay tuned for that. Let's see if we can I'm just going to throw one out at random here because I want to talk about it. I know Rob's going to have an opinion, and then we'll wrap it up and recap the parlay. Sacramento State, Rob, impressed me a little bit the other night, more than I thought they were going to. I thought your UCSB play was good by halftime. I thought they were going to get run out of their own building. But they did some things offensively that I thought were pretty good, and they managed to hang around in that game. Now they hit the road to play what I guess is a rival. I was not hip to the Sacramento State UC Davis rivalry, but apparently it is. And they've taken money at this point. Rob, do you want to punch back at all with UC Davis here? Jim Less, a pretty good defensive coach.
Well, what's crazy, Adam, is the move on the total here. 144 to 151.5 now, 7.5 point move on this game. People enamored with the Sacramento State offense the other night. I will say this real quick because I'm looking at the clock and I see we might be up against it here. So we want to get some stuff in before we get off the air. Santa Barbara and Davis are two different teams stylistically. And to me, it was easier. It's a little bit easier to score as far as full game total is concerned when you're playing Santa Barbara because they're such an efficient offensive team. They're going to get theirs, right? And Sacramento State showed that they could get theirs. Davis is like molasses. They don't really want Jim Less plays slow. Can you crank them up? Can you speed them up? I guess the market thinks you can. What worries me about UC Davis here is they're number 344 in turnover percentage in the country. 24.5% of their possessions turned into turnovers. Against Sac State, that could be a lot of trouble here. You might want to lean Sacramento State team total in this game. It looks like even though it's on the road against a slower team, they may be able to get some cheap buckets and push their team total over.
I was trying to find a note. I did take some notes on this one, and I feel like I wrote down.
I want to get a live look at that desk for Trigg that he's just got random UC Davis notes laying on the desk.
UC Davis notes, couple
head to the grocery store, UC Davis defensive efficiency numbers. Yeah, just much stuff
I thought they might have someone out. Because my gut was to
Elijah Pepper. That's what Bayou is saying. UC Davis also missing their stud Elijah Pepper.
Yeah, and I thought that might be I actually think they might have a second guy out. So that's something like that might be the reason for the move. Because like if they were healthy, I would punch back at that move all day. I knew Pepper was not going to play, but I think they might have a second key player out. And I just, I don't want to like say it because I got to look into that a little bit more. But Rob, that would probably support your under theory that much more if they're without, a couple of their scores. So
yeah, and Pepper hasn't played all year. I don't think, guys.
No, it wasn't Pepper. It's a different. Let me see if I can just find it real quick here. I'll tell you who it was. I really should. I just, Brian, you're right. The desk is a mess. There's notes everywhere.
Jay Buff has chimed in with find the North Texas notes. I feel we do.
I got it.
Okay, do I feel like we got 90 seconds left? I feel that Jay Buff is going to call the FCC if we don't get to one of his questions.
No, we gotta wrap it up because we've got the hard stop. But I will tell you, I found it. It's Niles Cooper for UC Davis, 18 points in the opener, 16 points against North Dakota State, did not play against Portland. So you've been down Pepper. If you're down Cooper as well, for sure, that's probably an issue for Davis. That would probably talk me off the Davis side, but I think it would support Rob looking toward the under. So that's what I'll leave you with there. And then we'll leave you with a 3-teamer, which hopefully is a winner to close out the week. So I'm going to call it 5-1 because I've priced in some juice here. You can definitely find better than 5-1 on this parlay at most places, probably more like plus 520, plus 530. But for us, just because I know some people might see this late, we'll call it 5-1. We've got Georgia minus 15 for Brian Power, Hofstra on the money line for me, and Rob's going to bring us home with Providence, Colorado under 163.5. One more time for the people in the back. That's Georgia -15. Hofstra on the money line. Providence, Colorado under 163.5. Boys, we've made it to the end of week 2 for the Full Court Press Show. We'll be back on Monday morning, but check the website because I do think there will be a special for the 3 of us to get all the plays for the weekend, just so you don't miss us. And we'll be back giving you more Monday morning, 10 a.m., Monday through Friday. We'll see you guys then.
Maybe over, J Buff.